All right. Welcome to another episode of Only Comics. I'm Mike. This is Adrian.
What's up?
What's up, dude? How's it going? Another day in paradise.
Another day. Just another
Just
day.
another day. Another day, another episode of everybody's favorite podcast,
That's it.
Only Comics, right? We talked a lot about X-Men last week, right? We're going to do something the fans have been waiting for, Adrian.
Okay.
The Madam Web review. The Only Comics Madam Web review. Probably the only Madam Web review you're going to need, right? Would you agree with that?
Well, I would agree is that, it's definitely the only one that you would need, but I'm just sitting here thinking about why we're reviewing it.
What's funny is that this is probably the latest that we've reviewed a new movie. Typically, a movie comes out, there's a handful. If you want to look back at some of our old shows, we reviewed Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yep.
2 days after it came out. We did the same with Across the Spider-Verse. But then this travesty called Madam Web was released, and it took a lot. It took the fans asking for a review for us to watch it.
Right. I was going to say, we weren't going to do it.
No.
But, we responding to the fans.
Correct.
And they encouraged us
Absolutely.
to digest, to consume this, how you call it, travesty?
Yes, travesty.
Yeah. So that's this week.
That's it. So, stay tuned. That will be later in the show. You do not want to miss that. Sometimes I think it's more fun reviewing the bad movies, It's like...
dude. Yeah. Yeah.
Not watching it, but talking about it.
Yeah.
But every week we like to start this show, kick off a little comic news and rumors. So, got some news. This one, quick little tidbit here, Adrian. X-Men 97.
Yep.
The first episode debuted a few weeks back, and it debuted to 4 million views on Disney+.
Nice.
Are you surprised by that?
Not really.
No.
Not really. I think there's a lot of diehard fans. And the X-Men, they won over a lot of, younger hearts too as well. So, no, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. I guess I'm surprised. I'm not surprised by how good it is. I'm just surprised. I wasn't sure what the overall reception was going to be because, let's be honest, sometimes fans are stupid.
Right.
Even some of our fans, we love them, but some of them are a little, it's like, dude, really?
A little Riri.
Yeah, did you eat paint chips as a kid? But anyways, so I'm surprised by how well this has been received by the masses because sometimes the masses are a little off, which is why there's podcasts like ours,
Well, I think part of it is something that we discussed a few weeks back, a few months back, whatever. One of those episodes.
Yeah, somewhere.
We're in, in our approaching 50 now.
Yep.
So one of the previous episodes, we talked about, making these animated shows more adult.
Yes.
So I think the fans are appreciating the fact that we have encouraged, the cinemas to make these shows more adult, which is what is attracting them.
Yes. So basically what you're saying is you're welcome. Because we played a big role in this, That's another one of our mutant powers, influence. So X-Men 97, like I said, 4 million views in the first 5 days, actually.
Wow.
Also, what's happened, and this one I can also attribute to Only Comics. So one of the things, Adrian, if you remember, a few weeks prior to X-Men 97 releasing, I started recommending X-Men 97 episodes.
Yes.
Right? And I've been talking about this show for a long time, right? To the point where you never even watched it. You're like, maybe I'll check some out. So I've been a big fan. I've been promoting this thing like I'm Don King promoting a Mike Tyson fight in the 90s, okay? And so the views for all 5 seasons, so across all 5 seasons of the X-Men animated series on Disney Plus, have increased by, listen to this, 522% since the X-Men trailer launched on February 15th, which was when we reviewed the trailer.
Right. I was going to say, is it because of the X-Men launch? Or is it because Only Comics hyped it up?
Yeah. I would, if we'll do it a little 80-20. I think it's 20% was because of the trailer and 80% was because of us talking about the trailer and the rest.
I think that's fair.
That's definitely fair. But hey, all this X-Men talk. Next week we're going to review 2 episodes of X-Men 97. So, but wanted to give a little shout out there. It's a nice little tidbit. Next up in the news, we talk about my man Battinson a lot here, right? My boy, Robert Pattinson. Are you nicely referred to him as Edward?
Yeah.
Now, Edward had a counterpart, Adrian, back in the day, right? Who was that counterpart?
Kristen
Stewart.
Yeah, that sounds right. Kristen Stewart.
So, a few weeks ago, they talked to her they asked her about the MCU and joining the MCU, and what she said was, "It sounds like a fucking nightmare." And then she also went on to say, like, if Greta Gerwig, I think she's the director of Barbie,
Right.
if she were to direct one of the movies, then I would. And I guess
if she were to direct or if she were to ask.
If Greta Gerwig was directing a MCU movie, then she would star in it or whatnot. But my thing is, like, who even said this was an option for you to join the MCU? Like, who's asking for Kristen Stewart in the MCU?
I don't know. They probably doing this Edward thing, this Edward crossover. He's in DC. They figure she can show up somewhere. No. But listen, you know what? The best thing that you can do for all of us, if you don't want to be there, don't be there.
Exactly.
Don't show up like Miss Marvel.
Yep.
Or Captain Marvel, and you look like you don't want to be there. So do us a favor.
Yeah, don't Brie Larson us, right?
Yeah.
So no, I'm good. So you know what? You're right, Kristen. It's probably going to be a nightmare. Just stay far away. Okay. There's a Logan actor rumored to be cast as Harvey Dent in the Batman 2. So Logan's a movie we talked about a lot here. I mean, you're a pretty big fan of Logan, right?
Yep.
You remember the guy, and I had mentioned him a few weeks back as just someone that was a cool villain that would be cool to see on screen again. I never thought he would play Harvey Dent, but the actor's name's Boyd Holbrook, and he played, I forget the character's name, I'm looking it up right now, but if you remember in Logan, the guy who was kind of after Logan the whole time with the mechanical arm.
Oh, yeah.
That actor is rumored to be playing Harvey Dent in the Batman 2. What do you think about that?
Don't care. I don't care. I mean, I vaguely remember the hand. I don't remember his face. Anybody can play Harvey. Actually, that's not true.
No.
Not anybody can play Harvey Dent. I don't care.
I think he can pull it off. I really do. He was God, I can't remember his freaking name. Someone will drop it in the comments and correct us because that's what they love to do. So, but he was kind of an ass in that movie, and he just, there's some characters that when they're on screen they really tap into that villain feel, and some of them don't, right? But he did, and we know obviously Harvey Dent turns into Two-Face, so I've not seen this guy in anything else, so I don't know. I guess he also was in Narcos, which I've not watched. You ever seen the show Narcos on Netflix? Not seen that either. But so if this rumor's true, now bigger question here. Forget about who's playing him. We've seen Two-Face on screen twice now.
Yep.
We've seen my man, who's the blonde guy from The Dark Knight? I forget the guy's name. Aaron something.
Yeah. Aaron. I want to say Flockhart, but that's some girl.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
He also played Frankenstein.
Okay.
Yep. He also played some European movies. He's a decent actor.
Yeah, pretty good actor, right? I liked his portrayal.
Yeah.
Then we had the Tommy.
As a matter of fact, he's the one that I was thinking about when I said everybody can't play Harvey Dent.
Okay.
Because I think he did a very good job playing Harvey Dent.
And the one I was thinking about when you said everybody and I said no they couldn't is Tommy Lee Jones. Do you remember that Two-Face?
Yeah, I remember.
So we had that shit show, right? But one of the things we talk about a lot here is not repeating like the same. Like we don't need to see the same characters over and over and over, right? How do you feel about there being a Harvey Dent in Batman 2 or the Batman 2? Is it too soon?
I don't think it's too soon. I think they can introduce and start to mature him like they did with the Penguin.
Yeah.
Because what's his face just knocked it out the park with the Penguin.
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
With the Batman. So I don't think it's too soon.
Yeah.
But I'm just interested to think about. It's interesting to think about what they can do with the character.
Mm-hmm.
Also, are they going to bring the Penguin back?
Yes.
And because he's going to have his own show or movie or whatever, he's going to mature on his own.
Correct.
And then get interjected back into the Batman.
Yeah.
So does that make him like a supervillain so it'll be interesting, but I do think that there's space for a Harvey Dent. It's just that they went a roundabout way of introducing what's his face, the antagonist in the Batman.
The Riddler?
The Riddler.
Yep.
So it's kind of a hard space to put another person in, but I think they could do like a cameo.
Yeah, and I think it would because, even you bringing up Penguin, you think about the first movie, he was not the main villain. He was just a side. And in a lot of the, I'm a big Batman guy. A lot of the Batman graphic novels, you see a lot of that where there's a lot of villains featured, but they're not the main villain in that story. Like we reviewed Hush here in the past, right? Where Hush is the main villain. The Joker shows up, Harley Quinn shows up, all these people are showing up, but they're not taking the limelight. So I wouldn't want to see Harvey Dent. I think it'd be too soon to turn him into Two-Face. Right. Like you said, introduce him, let him mature. Maybe in the third one he turns into Two-Face. Sure. That was one. I love your boy Aaron's portrayal in The Dark Knight. I think the only thing that would have made it better is if he was introduced in Batman Begins as Harvey Dent, and then we got to see the turn. I'd like to see a more Harvey Dent before he hit Two-Face, if that makes sense. Right. So we'll see. Boyd Holbrook allegedly cast as Harvey Dent in the Batman 2. We'll see about that. Last piece of news, Adrian. We were talking about Deadpool and Wolverine last week, right? One of the rumors was that the movie is going to take place primarily in the Void. And I wasn't a fan of that. Now, there's another rumor here that says that the original plot for the movie was for it to take place across different locations in the X-Men universe. So going back, kind of like how Endgame does with, the MCU, they go back to the fight of New York. They go back to Asgard. They go back to all these different locations. So that's what it was originally supposed to be, but they scrapped that. Some people are saying because of budget or whatnot. So if I had to pick between the two, knowing what I know about the movie now, I'd pick the X-Men universe over the Void. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. The Void is it doesn't leave a lot of imagination for the viewer.
Right.
So that's why I'm kind of struggling with it. It's like, what can you do in the Void that would make them, especially when the two main characters are going to spend supposedly most of their time there. So it's kind of hard to, wrap your mind around, well, what's going to make this movie even exciting or interesting if they're going to spend most of their time in a closet, in Jack Snyder's garage or whatever.
Right. Yeah, so I wish they would have stayed with this, just based off of that. Now, I'm also not going to prejudge because I still think, with everything going into this movie, and there's also a lot riding on this movie, I feel, too.
Sure.
Like, if this movie bombs from a critical, everyone's going to go out to see it because of, the marketing behind it. But if we go watch it and go, you know what? God, it's not as good as the first two Deadpools. Shit, well, Hugh Jackman shouldn't have came back. Dude, that's really going to screw shit up for the MCU moving forward.
Well, the big thing would be like Hugh Jackman, right? That would be like his last movie.
Yeah.
He'd be like in this Russell Crowe spin, always trying to, come back and do some stupid movie to make up for or do as well as Gladiator. It would be just a sad sort to watch, from the outside.
Yeah, it would be. So I do. I think there's a lot riding on this. So hopefully they don't screw it up. But hearing this little, hey, it could have went this route. Just based off what I know, I wish they would have stayed with the X-Men. So anyway, that's the news. We'll wrap up with a little thumbs up, thumbs down real quick. So number one, X-Men 97 debut episode reached 4 million views in just 5 days. I'm giving this a huge thumbs up.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Kristen Stewart says joining the MCU sounds like a fucking nightmare. I'm gonna give this a thumbs down. Just then don't join. We don't want you here anyway. So
thumbs up because she's not coming to the MCU.
Okay, that's a good perspective. Yeah, I'm giving her the thumbs down. So there you go. We balance each other out there.
Hey, there you
go. Logan actor rumored to be cast as Harvey Dent in the Batman 2. I'll give this a thumbs up.
I'm thumb down. I don't care.
That's one of Adrian's mutant abilities.
There you go.
A lot of things he just don't care.
Just don't care.
And also, someone did say you were on fire, so that's another one of your mutant abilities too. So
I got to start writing this stuff down.
Yeah, you do a hidden gem on yourself one day.
You're like Professor X, man. You bringing out all of our, exposing these abilities.
That's it, dude. I'm removing these blocks that I set up when we first started doing the podcast. Last piece of news for the week: the X-Men plot rumored to be scrapped from Deadpool and Wolverine, saying that this was originally going to take place a lot in the X-Men universe from the Fox films. Now allegedly it's going to take place in the Void. I'm giving that a thumbs down.
Whatever, just bring it on.
You just want the movie.
Thumbs down for the news, but just whatever, dude.
Yeah, you're just ready for this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is. We talked about this before, and moving past, we're in April now. Is there another comic movie that you are equally excited to go see, or is Deadpool Wolverine still the one you're looking forward to the most?
Well, we talked about comic book movies versus regular movies, right?
Yeah.
So it is the movie not the comic book movie.
Movie in general.
It is the movie I'm most excited to go see.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, same. There's still nothing else. Now, unless Beyond the Spider-Verse does come out this year, then for me, that would be the number one for me.
Or they do like a, Matrix 1 reboot.
Zack Snyder's Matrix.
Right. In black and white.
Yeah, black and white. Yo, imagine how slow-mo those bullet dodges would be now with Zack Snyder on it.
Man, you need a wardrobe change for the bullets to come by.
All right. See, you never know what you're going to get here on Only Comics. So we got we're kind of merging two segments together this week, Adrian. Okay. You have a beloved segment called Hidden Gem, right, where you break down hidden gems from the comic book world, predominantly Marvel, because DC's DC, and then the past few weeks, one of our fans requested a Omega level mutant series of hidden gems. So we had two segments going, so we're going to combine them this week. We have a character who I didn't really know a lot about for a long time, and a character who is, again, Omega level, probably one of the most powerful mutants outside of like Santa Claus, maybe. I mean, you're going to go through all the powers, but the individual we're talking about this week is Legion. Mm-hmm. He's actually the son of Charles Xavier, right? Legion was created in 1985 by Chris Claremont and Bill, I don't know how to say the guy's last name. But were you familiar with Legion prior to doing this deep dive? Was he a character that was on your radar growing up? Or
not at all.
No.
I mean, the only Legion I heard about was the biblical Legion. But this character is about the same.
Yeah. And this goes back to when Xavier was in Israel, right, working at a psychiatric facility, met a patient, man. Charles Xavier, yeah.
Him and Magneto. Them old dudes, they be, Charles with that mental, I mean, he can make anybody like fall in love with him, right?
Yep.
And then Magneto with them eyes, hey, between them two, them old dogs, they get around.
That's what it is. It's the eyes. It's not the big M on his costume.
Nah, I doubt if that's it at all.
No, not at all. But this patient, Gabrielle Haller, right? Because actually Legion's name is David Haller. Legion did not grow up knowing that he was Xavier's son initially, but these two had an affair, whatnot. Gabrielle gets pregnant. Charles Xavier bounces. Now, here's what I don't get though. He's a telepath, so like he had no idea he had a child out there.
And not only is he a telepath, but he has a machine to detect mutants around the world. At the very least, I mean, this would have been a big-ass blip on his screen because he is one of the more powerful mutants in the MCU.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like he didn't help Rogue. I mean, I keep calling him Rogue. He didn't help Aurora with her childhood claustrophobia.
Yeah.
He's not keeping Scott from being a dick, right? And he's not even detecting his own son. I mean, what's up, Chuck? What's going on?
Right. For real. So he bounces, he hits the road. He's like, fuck you, take care of the baby yourself. No child support, no nothing. And then, she has the baby and David lives with her and his godfather in Paris. Is it stepfather? Maybe they got this wrong here. So it's godfather. I don't know. Maybe he's both. Maybe they got some kind of crazy shit going on.
My sister, my aunt.
Yeah. I mean, they're not from Alabama, Wow. Anyway, but they're living in Paris. They get attacked by terrorists.
Correct.
And this is, we talking about that trauma. His godfather, stepfather, someone's father is killed. And then, dude, he just like loses it. Like he incinerates their minds. Is that what happened?
He destroys his mutant ability comes out.
Yeah.
Right. And he kills the crew. But like Jean, when she was trying to save her friend, right?
Yeah.
He linked his mind with theirs as they are dying.
Okay.
which is how he became traumatized.
Yeah, because then he was like in a catonic state after that.
Well, I don't know about that, but
yeah.
So he linked minds, and especially with the leader.
Yeah,
which actually he embodied his mind into his physical body, and they fight each other all the time.
Yeah.
It created this persona, like a John Wayne-esque kind of a persona.
Did that become one of his personalities eventually?
Yes, yes. But the whole premise is that he linked minds, again, because like Gene, they didn't know they had these powers. They couldn't control them, couldn't manage them. So when he lashed out and linked to their dying minds, he was probably unable to detach.
Yeah.
Which is why he became Legion.
Right.
Made up of many minds.
So this was like the first of that additional personality. But he actually has a dissociative identity disorder.
Correct.
Which, there was, I was telling you before we got on air, there was a show on Fox a few years ago, 17 through 19. I've only seen a handful of episodes, but it's about his origin, and he's initially diagnosed as schizophrenic, and they put him in like a mental institute, and then so very different than the comic origin, but the powers and a lot of the origin is still there. It's just how he started to control them, but he slowly recovered, and then he ends up in the care of Moira MacTaggert. Another one of Xavier's little boos.
Right.
That's the other thing. How does Xavier not know this is going on?
He psionically blocks himself from his personal responsibilities and just shits on everybody else's for theirs.
I know people in real life that do that. I don't know if it's psionic, but there's a lot of people that,
Yeah.
Anyway, but she's kind of helping him recover or whatnot. There's a whole lot that happens before he actually meets Xavier. But what about his powers? Like, so at this point, he's telekinetic, right? What else has he uncovered early on from a power standpoint?
All right. So last week we went over Jean Grey's powers, right? There was like 4 pages of this stuff. Right? All right. So we can make this one short.
Yeah.
Legion, the reason that he's called Legion is that he has this dissociative disorder, right? He said that he has over 200 Omega level personalities in his mind.
Yeah.
200. And each one of the reason that he's called Legion is because every one of his Omega level powers is manifested by a different personality. The 2 most common ones are this John Wayne character, right?
Yeah.
And this Cindy character.
Okay.
One manages telekinesis, and the other one manages pyrokinesis, kind of a deal. So like Phoenix level kind of power.
Yeah.
But so the 4 pages of powers that Phoenix has, he has all of that stuff too. So we just go down, quickly go down, a list. Telepathy, telekinesis, mind cloaking, psychic shields, illusions, telepathic camouflage, memory erasures, everything.
Jesus.
So this guy, when his powers emerge, right? They emerge not only just as a power, but also as a personality. And Rogue, somehow she ends up in his mind, right? And she detected thousands, and they constantly develop. Now, these personalities, they can die, but they've also been known to come back too. So there's some resurrection thing going on too. So this guy not only has Omega level potential because he has all these different powers, but these powers emerge as personalities, which themselves are Omega level, which is insane.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing about it is that he basically has no limit to not only because Jean, she has 4 pages of powers, right? Which is a lot. I mean, that's Santa Claus level, right?
For real.
But this guy, he has powers that haven't even developed yet and beyond. So there is no limit really to what he can do. So anything that Jean can do, he can do.
Yeah.
plus more because he will ultimately create a personality that will display some other kind of power that he does not have.
Yeah.
So this dude is just, I mean, Jean, she was listed as a global and universal level threat.
Mm-hmm.
This dude is the same, I would say, plus.
Really?
Yeah. But, I mean, that whole disassociative thing, I don't know much about that mental disorder.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that he basically means that he doesn't have control over some of this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's no telling, which is why Charles Xavier, Mr. Sperm Spreader there, which is why he put blocks on Jean in the first place, because she, at an early age, she could basically have collapsed reality
right
at an early age if he didn't put these blocks in it. But besides the fact that he was probably jealous.
Yeah.
So imagine what this guy can do in one of his dissociative states.
Yeah.
Right. So, unlimited power, not only unlimited range of power, but unlimited width, meaning that he can adopt or pick up some kind of power that he hasn't currently displayed in a personality somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
And between his own self-assessment and others' assessments, there's anywhere from a couple of hundred to several thousand, and they're constantly developing.
Yeah. Dude, I think his powers are more interesting than anything in his story. Like,
right.
There's no limit, but they're all based off of these different personalities. Right. Now, is it at least the early on Legion that I'm used to, he can't control these personalities, so they're kind of in and out. Now, as he gets older and moves, his story moves along, does he get a better control of these powers or the personalities, or no?
I'm not sure. I mean, again, this is a new research thing for me, but what I do know is that so when he wiped out that assassination team that killed his stepfather, that guy's personality is one that's pretty much present in his.
That's like his most dominant.
Right.
One.
That's his most dominant.
Gotcha.
And they kind of like go back and forth as far as control. Now, this personality that developed, like this John Wayne character, it tries to like kill this other personality because he wants to wipe him out because he wants to be the dominant in it. Then you got this Cindy character. So you got all these ever-present characters in his mind, but then he splits into all these other characters, or he manifests all these other characters as well. I mean, that's got to be. I mean, you have to at some point be able to master. I mean, just who's going to show up today, kind of a deal. Yeah. And then you deal with the power sets later on.
Dude, that reminds me a lot of Moon Knight. So I know you didn't finish the whole show, but they get into
the whole show. I didn't finish the first episode, man. What are you talking about? I mean, that would talk about pain.
Damn, she didn't even get to the first episode?
No.
Oh, shit. You got to give it a chance, dude. It is really – but a lot of what you're talking about with his personalities, you see in Moon Knight, because Moon Knight has several personalities.
Yep.
And you see a lot of that back and forth, especially in the later episodes. He don't have nearly as many as – I mean, he has like maybe 4. Mm-hmm. Legion has a couple hundred. Which is crazy.
Legion has unlimited.
Yeah.
So it's not a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand. It's just, and he's continuously developing. Developing.
You ever read any Age of Apocalypse comics?
No.
So I got into these a little bit as a kid, but I didn't know that Legion had anything to do with it. So Age of Apocalypse is an alternate future where Charles Xavier is dead.
Uh-huh.
And Apocalypse basically rules the world, and Magneto's he's leading the X-Men. Mm-hmm. The reason why this alternate universe even existed was because of Legion. So Legion had, you know who the Shadow King is?
I've heard the name.
He's, I don't know a whole lot about him, but I know he's like a main antagonist of Legion. And at one point, he mind controls Legion, and he kills a mutant, I think Destiny was the name. After all this X-Men X Factor, they defeat Shadow King, and then Legion's in a coma again. Mm-hmm. Then when he wakes up, he believes he's all fixed or whatnot. But when he absorbed, I think it was Destiny's power when he killed her, there was some vague guidance that he found in her mind that said, if only years ago Professor Xavier had been given a real chance to fulfill his dream. So he took these words as a directive to go back in time and kill Magneto for some reason. And when he did this, he accidentally dragged the X-Men back with him in time. And you know that scene in the beginning of X-Men 97 when Storm loses her power? They're trying to shoot Magneto. Storm jumps in the way.
Yep.
Similar thing happens with Xavier. Xavier is killed. Okay. And then that starts this alternate reality. It's a pretty cool universe. If you ever seen that picture of Wolverine where his hand's cut off and he has like a metal nub on one side, and he's a little more animalistic than the regular Wolverine. Like that's Age of Apocalypse. There's a Magneto where he's got the 2 long white braids. That comes from that timeline. So anyways, that whole line in the comics, and we're talking probably, if I had to guess, late 90s, 95. That was because of Legion going back in time. He basically is a reality warper as well, and he can move through time, right?
Right.
Like that. I mean, this dude, I said this last week, he could definitely solo Justice League.
Well, we also talked about, the Suicide Squad soloing Justice League.
Right.
So pretty much anybody at this point.
True. But, dude, this is a very interesting character. This is one that would be very hard for them to depict on screen properly.
It would be impossible. I mean, they can't even get Jean Grey right with
True.
A couple of personalities. I mean, because right now we got Madeline Pryor,
yep.
Right? We got Jean Grey, we got the Dark Phoenix, and we got the Goblin Queen.
Mm-hmm.
So theoretically, it's the same person with 4 kind of different personalities.
Yep.
So they can't even get that right, even though they have physically manifested them as 2 different characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
2 different physical bodies with a personal and a costume identity,
right?
Pretty much, right? And they can't even get those right. So imagine a person with thousands of personalities, and each of those personalities having an omega level power set.
Yeah.
It would be impossible.
Not gonna happen.
It'll show up like a dark black cloud swirling from space. Oh, wait a minute, they did that already.
Wait, you didn't like that? No. That was your boy. What was that, Galactus?
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Let's hope they nail that, dude. Let's hope.
Oh my God.
No, the one that and this is, moving on from Legion, but the character I really hope they portray properly is Doom.
Yeah.
And I feel like he could be a big deal if portrayed properly.
Right.
But based off of what they've done with some characters, they could really screw that up too.
You know what I'm hoping that they don't do? And I know that some people probably think this way. I hope that they don't try to make Doom Darth Vader. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
I hope that you don't get a director or writer that's a Star Wars fan and be like, let me just make him more Darth Vader-ish, which would completely pooch screw Doom. I mean, that would be worse than depicting Galactus as a black cloud descending on the planet from Earth. So yeah. I just hope they don't go that kind of a route,
Yes, no, I'm with you on that. So yeah, Legion, dude, great character. Do you remember any interaction with him and Xavier in the comics?
None. I mean, I've never heard of. I've heard of Legion, but I never dug into it.
Mm-hmm.
But so no, definitely no interaction with. Why would Xavier, who didn't even pay child support, want to have anything to do with have any kind of interaction?
It's like that song, son. "Papa was a Rolling Stone," Yep. Charles was a Rolling Stone, dude. He was out there. That wraps up the Hidden Gem / Omega Level Mutant for this week. Moving on. Up next, we have Adrian Agree to Disagree. Okay. And then we're going to do a little Madam Web review and then hop into We Respond. So this is where I'm going to rapid fire a handful of my opinions at you. And you let me know if you simply agree or not.
Let's do it.
And then our fans will do the same. And sometimes they get mad at us when we agree. Like, don't agree every time. Like, dude, if you want them to lie, is there a limit to how many agrees Adrian can have, like a percentage or something?
I have at least 200 Omega level disagreements with you, maybe into the thousands.
Yes,
but who knows?
Who knows? Maybe we'll go 6. We got 6 today, so maybe we'll go 6 for 6. All right. You ready?
Ready.
Number 1, Madam Web is the worst Sony Marvel movie of all time.
I'm thinking Morbius. So no.
Okay.
Disagree.
Beetlejuice 2 will be better than The Flash.
Yes.
The Eternals is better than Madam Web.
Disagree.
Madam Web would not solo the Justice League.
Agree.
See? We don't hate the Justice League. See that? Deadpool and Wolverine should take place in the X-Men universe, not in the Void the whole time.
Agree.
And last but not least, if portrayed properly, Doctor Doom could be above Thanos-level villain for the MCU.
Absolutely. I agree.
And, sometimes I like to kind of dissect some of these. We should talk about that for a minute. Because Thanos is a character that I would say this, and this could be an agree or disagree. Thanos is a bigger threat in the MCU than he was in the comics.
Yes.
So I think in saying that, they took a character and made it even bigger than he was on screen. So they did a great job there.
Sure.
Doctor Doom in the comics, to me, is above Thanos.
Disagree.
Really?
Well, he's above Thanos in that he's more present.
Okay.
So his goals and objectives are, we experience them, we as the readers experience them more often than Thanos, because Thanos is off universal things. But Thanos is definitely a bigger threat, because Thanos' thing is that let's just wipe out whatever we need to wipe out in order to meet my objectives.
Okay.
Dr. Doom's objective is, regardless of what he does, he's humanity is his thing.
Yeah.
He's going to protect humanity. So I think Thanos is a bigger threat, but Dr. Doom is more devious, deceiving, single-minded, so on and so forth.
Okay. He's more of a villain.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, because
Thanos is just Thanos. He's just doing the things that in his mind he thinks is right.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I agree with that. That's fair. Now, God Emperor Doom, which we saw in Secret Wars, would you say that I mean, in that comic, he's above Thanos. Thanos is, kind of just part of his little world, which I think if we're going to get Secret Wars in the MCU, I would assume we're going to get God Emperor Doom, right? There has to be some main threat. We know it ain't Kang. Right. But, I mean, is there another villain that you see playing that role in Secret Wars?
How about the original dude, the Beyonder?
Yeah.
Because in Secret Wars 2015, Doom really isn't the top dude.
No.
It's the Molecule.
It's the Molecule Man, yeah.
Right. So he's the guy behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Right? So it could be, but the Face Man was Doom.
Right.
So that's cool. But it could be the original guy, the Beyonder.
Yeah. And I think there was a rumor that the Beyonder is going to show up in Secret Wars. Now, will it be, just kind of off in the sky somewhere? Because we never really see the Beyonder in the comic. You see a lot of his power in the Secret Wars.
Well, you don't really see him in Secret Wars, but he made himself into a human. He took a human form.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was reading this comic, and he was in a sports car riding down the California freeway, and it was traffic, and he was like, forget this. So he lifted the car up and just kind of flew across all the traffic and stuff. So he made himself a person so he can walk among the commoners. Kind of
that was after the original Secret Wars?
I think it was before.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the timeline was, but I do
somewhere.
remember that particular panel in the comics.
But yeah, in Secret Wars, we don't really see him in a physical form.
No.
We see just his, he's almost like he's a god. So we just kind of see his power, his force. So yeah, I guess they could go that route and have him be a more physical form and be the main villain if in Secret Wars. But I think, since they're going the Fantastic Four route, we're going to see Doom show up there. The rumor he's not the main villain for Fantastic Four. I would like to see them take the Doom character, elevate him on screen, and eventually make him into that God Emperor Doom for Secret Wars. I think that'd be cool.
Sure.
So we got that. Now, Adrian, the moment everyone's been waiting for, the Madam Web review.
All righty.
This is, we finally sucked it up. We said, you know what? We actually did have a few fans like, dude, when's the Madam Web review coming? And because we were trying to avoid it. I mean, full transparency, right?
Yep.
I know why I was trying to avoid it. Why were you trying to avoid it?
It just seemed nonsensical. I mean, we'll get into it, but it was basically a show that didn't need to be made.
Correct.
About people that nobody cared about.
Mm-hmm.
And the better part of the movie was the trailers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, mine a little bit was, who's asking for this? The other thing is, and this kind of, I guess, branches off of that, I'm tired of Spider-Man movies without Spider-Man.
Right.
I'm tired of seeing Venom by himself. Morbius, I have no desire to even watch it without Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to have, this Madam Web, 3 different Spider-Women, and there's no damn Spider-Man. And the villain looks like a wannabe Spider-Man. Like, that's how bad we are right now.
Right. A chubby, wall-crawling psychopath.
Yep.
Going after people that we've never heard of. Anyway, we'll get into it.
But, like, for what? Oh, just so Sony can keep the rights to Spider-Man, so they make a shitty Spider-Man movie every couple years. So, yeah, for all those reasons, I had no intentions on checking it out. Right. But I did say, hey, once it hits streaming, maybe I'll watch it. But we did have some people like, where's the review? So we said, screw it. We'll watch it this past week. I spent, $25 on a movie that was probably a complete waste. Right. So let's start with, like we always do here on our movie reviews, let's score this movie. Mm-hmm. So from 1 to 10, Madam Web, I'm going to give this movie a 3.
I'm going to give it a 5.
Oh, shit.
I cannot go below what I gave. I think I gave the Eternals like a 4 or something like that. I can't go below that, and it was better than that.
Okay.
I didn't find myself saying, oh my God, when is this movie going to be over with?
You did or you didn't?
I did not.
Okay.
But it did take me through a range of emotions because of some things that I was seeing.
Yeah.
Which pissed me off. But outside, so I'm gonna give it a 5.
Okay, 5. This doesn't happen often, Adrian. Normally, I'm usually more up on things than you are. You're a little more of a critic than me at times.
Sure.
But sometimes the tables turn, and here we are. So I give this a 3. I don't think we need to go through it scene by scene because that would, God, probably give me PTSD. I might have a panic attack here. But the beginning. Well, first of all, the budget for the movie was $80 million.
It shows.
Yeah. Yes. And I was watching it, and within like 5 minutes, my wife looks at me and she says, "Is this a low budget movie?" Like, not trying to be funny. Like, is it? Dude, when the scenes, like the ambulance scenes, it felt like one of those ER shows that comes on Fox. Like, I don't know, 911. I don't know what they're called, but like a little, a little sitcom, not sitcom, but a little TV series,
an emergency ambulance or
shit
something
like that. That's what it felt like, dude. Like, it just. And one of the things I didn't like and we'll get into some specific things, but the overall theme of like, we're going to dance around Spider-Man. Like, we got Uncle Ben in here as a paramedic. And then like when he's about to give the name of his girlfriend, he's alluding to, it's Aunt May.
Right.
Like it cuts to another scene so they don't say it.
Right. When
she's about to give the name for the baby in the whole baby shower, we know it's Peter, but they don't say it. Like, It's just, why? Like, that distracted me and annoyed the shit out of me the whole movie, to be honest. The wannabe Spider-Man shit. In the beginning there, you mentioned when we were talking before, the time jump, right? 1973, it starts out, they're in the jungles of Peru. This dude, Ezekiel Sims, you ever heard of this dude in the comics?
No.
I get he is in the comics, but they're down there, this chick's pregnant, and they're looking for a certain little spider. It's like the whole thing. It's all about spiders, but there's no Spider-Man.
Right.
You're like, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record saying that, but that is one of the biggest issues with this for me. And then we see very early on, this dude, Ezekiel, he's looking into the future, and he sees all these characters dressed up as Spider-Woman, basically attacking him and fighting. At that moment, you know what? I thought that was a vision as to what we were going to see at the end of the movie.
Right.
And did we ever see them in costume?
Well, yeah, you saw it at the end in a future vision.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not actually an action scene. So yeah, you saw them.
Yeah, barely. But like in the trailers, we see them in costume.
Well, they had to get you in the theater some kind
Absolutely.
of way, or get you to pay your $25 to
for
watch
real.
It.
But I mean, dude, that felt like a massive void to me for this whole movie. Like, were you expecting like some type of big suit up in this movie and they were going to fight and we were going to see full powers, or?
Well, we got that.
Yeah.
I just expected it to be like a real action scene.
Correct.
And maybe longer than a memory.
Right.
Flash. But we technically got.
Nah. That's
Dude,
like,
what was up with the glasses at the end, Madam Web?
Oh my God.
I'm just saying. But we jumping ahead.
Yeah, we are jumping ahead. So, initially when this movie kicks off, how did you feel about this whole Peru scene, them looking for the spider?
All right. Let's go.
Go ahead.
So, let's talk aesthetics.
Yeah.
Right. So, I'm mad because Peruvian jungle. The only people that looked Peruvian were the two guys that were sitting down at the table. Right. That was as close as they got. So I'm mad about that.
Okay.
Then. The guy comes out, goes apeshit on everybody, starts shooting people and stuff, right? And the spider people, it's like 1,000 of them shaking through the trees. It only takes one, so the mom gets shot, right? It only takes one to scoop her up and jump through the trees, but the other 1,000 let this one dude get away.
Right.
Right? So that happens. Then they fast forward. Apparently, it's a low budget because they can only afford two cans of paint, which they use to paint all the fire trucks. And then all the buses in Peru, same paint scheme, right? Beyonce, I don't know when she came into this or why. We already know it's 2003 because they flashed that huge on the screen.
Right.
But then, the Aunt May dodging that. Obviously, Madam Web wanted to hook up with Uncle Ben, but he wasn't feeling it. He was, it was like a reverse, we're a friend kind of a deal.
How do you feel about that dude as Uncle Ben?
That was people go through transformations when they get older and stuff. So it kind of don't matter what you look like when you're young.
But
damn. that was a bit of a stretch. And then you got the whole Peter Parker's mom. She's pregnant. Obviously, she's gonna die through childbirth.
Correct.
Right. Madam Web kind of forecasting her, about childbirth before, but and blah 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 blah, and then you got all these Spider Women, right? That's in young Peter Parker's life apparently through Madam Web. So is it foretold or is it like an accident? So now we don't even know about that. But either way, where are these chicks when he grows up? Right? He could have used that tutelage,
right?
From 3 powerful Spider Women and all this other kind of stuff. The whole thing was ridiculous, dude.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it really was, dude. God, the glasses at the end. But you go back to the Uncle Ben. That's the dude, Adam Scott. You ever seen Step Brothers?
No.
He's the brother they punch in the face in the tree. You haven't seen him, but this guy's Uncle Ben. And I know you're saying, hey, it's back in the day, but sure. Still, I'm like, I don't understand. I feel like forcing the Peter Parker stuff into this movie took away from the movie itself. Because the whole time, it's almost like they're teasing we're going to mention Peter Parker. We're teasing it, but it doesn't happen. And it really has nothing to do with anything. That guy didn't need to be Uncle Ben. Anyone could have played that paramedic's role.
Exactly.
You could have been the paramedic,
exactly. I could have been. Well, no, I couldn't because they only had like 4 black people in the Bronx in the movie. So, no, I couldn't have been. Yeah. They killed off one of those.
Yep.
So, no, I couldn't have been that Uncle Ben. But it's like, but why? Why? So Correct. You have this low-level Marvel comic character, Madam Web, right? Mm-hmm. And then you surround them with everybody that nobody knows.
Right.
But you kind of hint at, right, the link. And that's all they were trying to do. They tried to make the show relevant by creating these Peter Parker Spider-Man links or the Uncle Ben, Aunt May links. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, this movie didn't need to be made at all.
Right. No, I think that's the probably the biggest takeaway is we didn't need this. Who's asking for this?
Right.
And they had Sydney Sweeney play this like dorky girl who's so not her personality, like that the blonde chick with the glasses or the redhead.
Yeah.
That it seemed like a parody almost.
Okay, so you mean the one that's dressed up like the high school girl?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so why are you walking around everywhere dressed like that? Like
exactly.
A Japanese animation schoolgirl.
Right.
What was the point of that?
Yep.
Right? It's so much stuff pissed me off about it. Okay, so how many New Yorkers do you know that can that knows anything beyond, and I'm probably going to offend some New Yorker, right? But how many New Yorkers do you know has any interest or know their way around New York outside of the 10 boroughs that they live in? So you're going to go steal a cab, which also, right? You steal a cab, you drive it all around New York, you go park it at the airport, you go to Peru, you come back, pick up the same broken ass cab, and continue to drive it, and no cop stops
exactly.
you. Come on.
Yep.
But besides that, so what New Yorker do you know that can navigate outside of their borough, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the woods, no map. Well, I'm just free flowing this stuff, right? I know where everything is. Nobody. Mm-hmm. Nobody. I could be wrong. I don't live in New York.
Right.
But my understanding is that New Yorkers live and eat in a certain area, and once you get them out of those areas, they probably need a GPS or some kind of mapping system. But this person seems to know where she was everywhere. Then she pops over to Peru, right? Just walks into the jungle all by herself, ends up where her mother was 20 years ago. Yep. Like nothing. But I rant.
Yeah. Dude, the other thing, one of the things I hate in movies is when they make the main character an idiot. So you mean to tell me this chick who can now see into the future, right? Because she's developed that power. She's a paramedic. She's saving lives. She takes these 3 girls that someone's trying to kill. She drives them to the woods and says, "You'll stay here for 3 hours." 3 hours. Not 3 minutes, not 5 minutes. You guys stay in the woods by yourselves. Someone's trying to kill you for 3 full hours. You're teenagers who parents aren't around, who obviously don't listen to anyone. I'm going to ask, you just met you today. I'm going to ask you to stay in these woods for 3 hours while I go do God knows what.
Right.
Why do they have to make the main character a fucking idiot?
And then, which they do teenagers do teenage stuff. They leave.
Exactly.
And they leave the fire burning in the woods. And then you come back and it's obviously, right? Obviously, they took some leaves and just sprinkled it over the extinguished fire, which makes it even more dangerous and unnatural, right? They just walk off and leave the fire burning in the woods. Come on, dude.
Yeah. Now I still gave it a 3, right? So that means there were some aspects of it that I didn't entirely hate. I did think her uncovering her powers was pretty cool, like the flashback scenes.
Sure.
Like, I'm a big fan of when it takes the character a little bit to figure out the power, or at least when we get to see that. One of my favorite things about the old Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies is that first one where he's discovering the powers and he's climbing up the wall and he's learning how to use the webs. I like seeing the hero or any character in general when they've not mastered their powers yet.
Sure.
So the way she obtained them and how confused she was, I thought that was cool. So if I had to give an up, that would be one of the ups.
Sure.
I don't know, Adrian, if there's another up in this movie.
Well, there was a part where she thought that she can climb up a wall.
Yes.
And slid down in the corner. That was kind of, mildly amusing.
Yeah.
The fact that I have any emotion about this movie at all, mostly anger, is that it is the reason I gave it a 5. Because like Eternals, I had like 0 emotions about that at all. It didn't move me either way.
Okay.
It was just useless.
Yeah. This
movie pissed me off for other reasons. Nonsensical, unnecessary. The 3 girls, they stereotyped the hell out of them, right?
Yep.
So that kind of pissed me off. And then the simplest death, the police chief, the black dude, gets into a thing, drives straight out and gets slammed by a garbage. He doesn't stop. The other truck thing doesn't stop. It was just,
yeah. One of the worst parts about the film to me was the acting and the dialogue. Like one of the most awkward scenes was when they're outside of the house and they're at the barbecue, and it's just really the dialogue just sounds so fake. And Dakota Johnson's portrayal of this character was one of the worst main stars in any comic book movie, in my opinion.
It's almost like they had cue cards off to the side of the camera, and they were reading. Yeah, that was you're a funny you're a funny guy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I think the casting didn't make sense. what they tried to do, I think, was capitalize on big name, well-known actresses and actors. Like, Dakota Johnson's known for the 50 Shades and all that, right? Sydney Sweeney's and Euphoria and all that. What's funny is because those are like very like sexual shows and movies, and then you're taking those characters and trying to turn them into these quirky little heroes, and it just doesn't fit.
Right.
It felt odd. They felt very out of place. So I think the casting was a down. I think the acting was a down. I think, the score of the movie was distracting to me. Everything sounded like a psychological thriller. It sounded like the background music really felt like everything was like mysterious and brooding, and that wasn't the vibe of the movie, which I thought was odd too. So early on, the overall score was distracting to me.
They couldn't get the villain, the chubby non-Spider-Man, right? Because they couldn't get him right, his timeline. Because I understand they showed like future versions of him with the gray beard.
Yeah.
But then like locally, in current time, they showed him with graying beard. But then they also had versions where he was grayer.
Right.
At the same time frame. Yep. I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna give the next time if we bring up Captain Marvel again, I'm gonna bump Brie Larson up a little bit.
Yeah.
Based off of this movie, because this was I'm talking about the acting part.
Oh, sure.
Acting of the character. I'm gonna bump Brie Larson up a little bit.
Yeah, I put Brie Larson's Captain Marvel portrayal over this shit show.
Yeah.
This Madam Web. God. This was, as I like to call my friend Cyclops and Captain America cringy here, this movie was cringe. This movie was cringe.
Not to carry the whole movie.
The whole movie itself, yes. I mean, there's nothing. I've not seen anything that looked dumber in a long time in a comic movie. Not as dumb as that scene with Madam Web sitting in front of the window that kind of looks like a web with the stupid little glasses on.
Yeah.
And like, dude, it was just bad.
Yeah.
And I touched on this when we were opening up this segment. The fact that we never got to see, now I know you say we saw it, but in the present timeline, we didn't get to see the Spider-Woman characters in their full get up, using their powers and all that shit. It was only in these stupid flashbacks and future scenes.
Right.
Which for me is a complete waste of the movie. Like, you ain't getting no sequel. There ain't no way. Like, what were you waiting for to show that to us? Like,
it was the budget, dude. It was only $80 million. They couldn't spend any more time, flushing those characters out. I mean, you had like 4 of them at the end. I mean, you couldn't have them have their own full-fledged scene. It would cost too much. It would cost them $81.5 million.
Well, what did they spend the first $80 million on?
I think 79 of it was those flash scenes, right? And the other $1.5 million was the rest of the movie.
Yeah. This was to me the worst Sony movie of all time. Why I double down and say Sony should be revoked. They should be fired from making Marvel movies from a live action standpoint.
I don't know what the solution is, but it's like when I go to a store, right? When I go to a store, I know what I'm getting, but when I go to the mall, that don't exist anymore. Malls.
I know, right? What's up?
I don't necessarily know what I'm looking for, but I know what I'm not looking for. If that makes any sense.
Yep. Yeah.
And I didn't know what to expect with this movie, but I see now what I didn't want to see in this movie, which was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Even to the point where, and I don't even know why I noticed this though, but most actresses or actors, they have they call it Hollywood white teeth. Mm-hmm. It's almost like she had on like covers or something to make her teeth look dingy. I don't know why I noticed that, but that was along with the 2 colors of paint that they obviously could only afford in the show.
Yep. So there you have it. I'm sticking with my 3. You're ending at a 5?
Yeah, I think I'm a 4.5.
Okay.
4.5.
4.5.
Again, it wasn't that bad, but it was just so many annoying things in it, and it really just didn't need to be made at all.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, I mean, what could have saved it for me was a different lead actress, actually a whole different cast, and either have Spider-Man in the movie or don't. Don't dance around the whole, this is his mom, but we're not going to say it. Right. This is Uncle Ben, even though we know he's dating May, but we can't say the name. Like, it's just, It's just stupid and a waste. Right. It's also you're building. This is I'm a big WWE guy. There's this old mentality in wrestling where, and this comes from like Vince, that don't promote something that you're not going to deliver, right? Like, so they wouldn't tease a match between two individuals that will never be able to get in a ring together. So it's kind of I wish they had this same kind of thought process in cinema and with these comic movies. You're teasing like Spider-Man's going to eventually cross paths with these characters. It's never going to happen. So stop teasing shit you're not going to deliver.
Right. What was the budget on this movie?
$80 million.
80?
Yep.
So what could have made this movie better for me was that they can convince Dunkin' Donuts to send us a continuous thing of Boxers of Joe's, right? And not make the movie and pay the $80 million to the writers to not write this movie, or pay them because they wrote it, and everybody else to like just not produce it. That's what could have made this movie. It's like non-existence. Yep,
definitely. What does exist though is only comics, and we exist on YouTube and TikTok. And that was a good segue there, Adrian. You like that? This is a segment that we call We Respond.
Let's do it.
This is where they comment, we respond. And there's really no rhyme or reason. Honestly, a lot of times I just scroll through comments while we're on here and pick some, okay? We're very off the cuff here in Only Comics. There's not a lot of rules. One of the rules is we talk about comics and Only Comics, right?
And sometimes something else.
Sometimes, but as long as it kind of ties back, right?
Like wrestling, maybe.
Yeah. The wrestling ties right into comics. Sure. I mean, there's heroes, there's villains.
Yep.
There's characters.
It's kind of made up.
It's kind of made up. It's predetermined.
Okay? Yeah, I like that. Predetermined.
It's predetermined. Some of them have powers,
Yep.
And, there's factions, there's groups, there's teams, and it's usually a battle of good and evil. So
there you go.
Just like this podcast, a battle of good and evil. We are good, and sometimes some of our commenters are evil, So let's handpick a few. My man Eddie78744 says Snyderverse was awesome. Snyderverse. Now, so let's paint the picture for you, Adrian. Spider-Verse, Man of Steel. Okay, that kicked off the Snyderverse.
Okay.
Batman versus Superman.
Okay.
Wonder Woman, the Justice League movie, and then I guess technically the Flash. Those all and the two Aquaman movies. Okay. Those all kind of fall into this Snyderverse. Do you think awesome is a good word to describe that as a whole?
I think awesome is a reach. But you do have to applaud the man for creating the bodies of work.
Yes.
Right? Just because we don't necessarily agree or like his body of work, but you do have to commend him for at least going through the process and making it, because a lot of people don't even get that far.
Right.
So, but awesome is a reach. I wouldn't call it that.
No.
I would call it commendable.
Okay.
That works.
Yeah, I mean, it did have some high spots, right? Like we're doing ups and downs. Now, I've like Man of Steel. I've not watched this movie in forever, and I can't remember the last time I even watched it straight through. But I remember it being okay, but kind of boring. How'd you feel about Man of Steel?
Was that the first one with
Henry Cavill?
Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
I thought it was refreshing to see somebody that actually looks like a Superman.
Yes,
so that that was good for that part was good for me. But I mean, they're just regurgitating this story all over again.
Yeah,
so
it was a little drawn
sick
out,
of that.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, the action scenes were cool, right? Superman. I think one thing about Snyderverse I will say is the powers, the way they were portrayed on screen, were pretty cool and consistent throughout. I guess Black Adam would also be considered Snyderverse, maybe. It wasn't directed by Snyder, but it's part of that Universal story, maybe. But that could be a stretch. They can't take credit for that.
Nah.
Black Adam's definitely better than Madam Web.
Yeah, definitely.
So then you have Batman versus Superman, very uneven film.
Yep.
I like some of it, and a lot of it I hate. The Wonder Woman movies, I didn't really care. I thought they were okay. How did you feel about those?
Actually, I didn't like the 87 one or the
84
flashback or 84, whatever that was.
Yeah.
I liked the first one.
Yeah. I would say the first one's definitely better. And then we all know how we feel about The Flash.
Right.
I've actually never seen Aquaman.
The first one was good.
Yeah.
I actually like that. I have not seen the second one.
Me neither. Everyone forgot about that movie. Dude, it just came and went. Yep. But yes, I agree. Awesome? No, not at all. I guess the word I would use to describe the Snyderverse, Adrian, is mid.
Okay,
It's
that works.
mid. All right, Lee 64112 says, I'm all right with the casting. He's talking about Pedro Pascal. This is on an older video. He commented the other day. But then he says they just can't mess up Doctor Doom.
Right.
And I agree with that.
Yep.
It's kind of like, I do think, if they screwed them both up, then that would, God, that'd be bad. Yeah. You watch Umbrella Academy at all?
I started watching it. It actually looked intriguing, but I got distracted by other stuff.
Okay. So I've not seen it, but here's a question from my man Nolan Smith, 1526. X-Men versus Umbrella, who you got?
Didn't watch it, don't know what the power sets
are. Okay,
are.
so you didn't get that far.
Yeah. So,
Got it.
I saw it.
Yeah.
I guess there's like this ape monkey professor or something over this thing. Is
Yep.
that the one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing I know about it. And some guy with like big ass arms or something.
Yep.
Yeah, that's as far as I got into it.
Got it. So you know what? Based off of that, I'm going with the X-Men. So, a couple weeks back, we were talking about X-Men 97 and how there was a pocket of fans that were all upset over, the Morph being non-binary or Gambit wearing a crop top and all this shit, right? So some fans, chimed in. Daniel Lopez says, not going to lie, it did bug me for a second about the crop top, but then I remembered this is from 97, and people didn't care what you wore in 97. Agreed, right. Yeah. Yep. And not only did they not care, that's what you were in 97. Exactly. Like, there was a lot of crop tops and spandex and fluorescent colors by, people that, like, by most people, to be honest.
And headbands and
yep.
Leg warmers.
There you go.
Whatever.
And then can't stand Jello. That's it. Just can't stand Jello.
That's a statement,
dude. You gotta really hate Jello to make that your name. You know what I mean? Like I don't even like bananas at all, but I would never name my name like can't stand bananas.
Hey.
Some of these guys who just leave their name as user 724, maybe they could use something like that.
Probably.
But can't stand Jello. What he says is people forget AC Slater dressed like this the whole fucking time from Saved by the Bell. Remember Mario Lopez character, the big old Jack wrestler? Or you're not a Saved by the Bell guy?
I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
I've seen it on the TV. I do know who Mario Lopez is.
Yep.
But I do not know the character.
Okay, so I'll bring you up to speed the way I do in 3.5 seconds, okay? AC Slater was a jock, wrestler, big old Jack dude, curly hair. All the girls loved him. He also wore crop tops and sweatpants and headbands and shit like that because it took place in the 90s. So his point was this guy who everyone worshipped on his show also wore that.
Gotcha.
So
all right.
There you have it. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, Robert Foster says that we were talking about the Lobo movie a few weeks back. Yep. He says he heard Jason Momoa is interested in doing the Lobo movie.
That would make sense. Jason Momoa would fit that pretty much perfectly, I think.
Yeah. I think so, too. Robert Woodard says, I think he's commented before, can we get a new Hulk movie?
But hold on, let's go back to the Lobo thing.
All right, Robert, you're going to have to wait a second, Robert.
Should actors have like and I think we
kind
of
covered this before, yeah, I know where
Shouldn't there be like a limit on the number of characters? I mean, they're just kind of like popping around now, that it's getting ridiculous.
Right. Well, yeah, like the guy we talked about earlier who was in Logan, now he's rumored to play Harvey Dent.
Right.
Like, can they not find, but then you know what happens if they don't find actors from the comic universe? They bring in people like Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney. Just saying.
Well, but they're not bringing Kristen, whatever her name is.
Yeah, Kristen
She's
Stewart.
Not coming.
That's
kicking
damn
and
sure.
dragging.
Yeah, with all her criteria of, and like, first of all, it's kind of like the Madam Web. Like, who asked for Madam Web? Who asked for Kristen Stewart in the MCU? No one.
I think because of Edward, with his fame with Batman, right?
Yep.
I think they just kind of like, well, used to, have something, some chemistry with him, right? Yeah. Aren't you also going to do they probably asked about the DC stuff too, but, we've already acknowledged that DC really isn't doing anything. So that interview didn't really get bubbled up to the top. Correct. Right? So
correct. Well, let's get back to my boy Robert. He says, can we get a new Hulk movie? Now, I did say this and agree to disagree. I would be okay with, and you actually wearing the Hulk hat today. Yep. How fitting. Did you know Robert was going to ask this?
I did.
Yeah.
Mutant power.
You can see in the future like Madam Web.
Yep, clairvoyance.
There you go. You have the gray beard. Madam Web in the comic was supposed to have gray hair, but they made her like a 30-year-old paramedic for some reason. That's a whole nother story.
And some bottle rockets took her eyesight out. Come on, man.
Dude, full transparency. So I watched this movie last night, and I started the movie at like 10 o'clock. I didn't get done till about 1:30 in the morning because I had to keep rewatching parts of it because it put me to sleep. Wow. It's almost like watching Dune almost from a putting yourself to sleep standpoint.
Right.
But a new Hulk movie, if it's Smart Hulk, no, absolutely not. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see Smart Hulk anywhere again. I would love a new Hulk movie. Maybe if there was a way to bring him back to being the big old angry Hulk, or if we're going to do a reboot for Secret Wars, I'd want a new Hulk movie after that with a whole new Hulk.
Right.
But what do you think about Robert's question, a new Hulk movie, or his suggestion?
I agree. However, I saw this, what do they call it when a person makes kind of like a movie, they're not affiliated with a studio, but they make like a movie.
Oh, independent movie?
Like a user-created
movie. Like fan fiction.
Yeah,
fan movies. Yep.
So I saw this one where Hulk versus Superman, right?
Oh, yeah, you said that to me.
It was like a cartoon kind of a deal. I don't want to see any Hulk other than that. Because that was the art was shit, but the power set between the two of them was fantastic. They pretty much did like a Godzilla on Nagasaki and just destroy everything. Hulk displayed powers that I've never seen before. Superman like put his hand into his chest, and the Hulk healed from that. Laser beamed off his hands. He regrew them back and then clapped himself back from outer space. The fact that he can move himself around with that giant clap that he's always destroying shit with.
Yeah.
That was an awesome flick. I'm spoiled from this point forward.
Yeah.
That's the only Hulk I want to see. I don't want to see this neutered. He can barely pick up a tank.
Right.
I mean, he's mad big as a building, but he can barely swing this tank. I don't want to see that. I want to see that.
With his little hurt arm because he snapped one time. Come on.
Right. No, I want to see this sonic boom creating Hulk.
Yes.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was. So I'm with you, dude. I don't, not with this Hulk at all. Cat 00311 says, Cat must have been watching the show last week, says, love the new X-Men show, except for the look of Magneto. Not a fan of that look. So we're not alone, Adrian. I don't think anyone likes that look.
Let's just tie it up to his like the 90s, the 97 thing,
Yeah.
Gambit's wearing like the crop
top.
And Magneto's wearing like the big M on his spandex.
Yeah. You know what? I'll be interested to hear, is there anyone out there that likes the new Magneto? Like, seriously. I mean, maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're in the minority. Maybe there's just me, you, and Kat over here who doesn't like it. Maybe everyone else absolutely loves it. So you're gonna say you're not. If you were a betting man, you wouldn't take that bet. No. Mr. J. Rodriguez, NYC, he's a fan of the show. He's commented before. He says Sony just needs to give over control to Marvel because everything they have done without them has been so bad.
Right.
I agree. He says it makes me want to try watching Dune Part 1 for the 6th time. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
You got any advice for Jay Rodriguez here?
Yep. If you're in a prison and you need to watch one or two things, just squeeze your head through the bars and call it a day.
Exactly. Man, yeah. That's if I was locked up in prison and I had to watch Dune 1 or Madam Web again, I'd watch Madam Web.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even think twice about that.
Nope, not at all. Daddy Doug 89, so he's 89. He must be a fan of X-Men 97.
Sure.
Dude, X-Men was wildly amazing. X-Men haven't felt this cool in so long.
Right.
I couldn't agree more with my man Daddy Doug.
Yep.
Superberg or something, Super Big HD. I mean, it's too complicated of a name, dude. Come on. Get the Russo brothers and John Farva to do the X-Men movies. I'd be down with that.
Oh yeah,
yep.
Definitely.
I mean, we've suggested that here a few times. We talked about Joker 2, right?
Yeah.
Jershai 08 is back. He says if they're able to execute on Joker 2 and make that work, that would be an insane hit. Not sure how they can do it, but I can't doubt Joaquin. I can. I get what he's saying.
I haven't seen the first one because of Joaquin.
Really? Oh, you haven't?
No, I have not. I can't.
Yeah. No, I know he's a great actor, but I see what he's saying. If they're able to pull this off, this whole musical, and make it work, that would be insane. It's a big if, though, for me.
Right.
Crazier things have happened, ask P. Diddy. But I'm just saying, crazy things happen, Adrian. I don't know.
This is the other.
Yeah, it's the other.
In the other things that we review in Only Comics.
What are you gonna do? It's been a long week. Yeah. This guy says Kyle Maley with this success, they got to just continue the 97 in movies. I don't know. Maybe he means that tone. Maybe you know what, Kyle? Let us know what you mean because I don't know what you mean. Do you know what Kyle means?
I'm not sure.
Sorry I put you on the spot like that, Kyle. But anyway, go to a couple YouTube comments. We'll wrap this thing up. My man Boomboy53 says, I also hate the Breaking Bad ending. I thought I was the only one. Bro, like Michael Jackson said, you are not alone. No, you are not alone. Do you hate that? I don't know if I asked you. Do you hate the Breaking Bad ending as much as I do or no?
When he gets killed?
Yeah, like just how it ended for all those, because I thought that show was great.
Right.
And then, the last season I thought was not as good as the fourth. And then I just thought the ending was just, it was a shit show with the machine gun bullshit. And I didn't like it at all. Were you a fan of it?
I'm a fan. I was a fan of the whole Breaking Bad thing. I saw it so long ago, I don't really remember how it ended. But I do know he got killed at the end or something.
Yeah.
Which was kind of ridiculous. It didn't sear in my mind as badly as the ending of Game of Thrones. Ooh. But I'm sure it was pretty bad.
It was pretty bad. So I agree. This dude, Joseph something or another, says, I also want Miles to debut in the next Spider-Man, but just Miles, not him as Spider-Man yet. I agree with that. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. Yep. I agree with that.
And maybe that's where they go, because so far every rumor just said Miles would show up. So, I mean, kind of he's, Joseph here, DeBlero is his name. He's thinking a little deep. It's critical. Maybe he's a mutant.
Possibly.
I mean, but to his point, or that's not the point he's making, I'm making it, they just said Miles. They didn't say Miles as Spider-Man in the rumor. So I think now the Spider-Man game on PlayStation, they do something similar there. So the first Spider-Man game is all about Peter. Miles is in it. He gets bit by the spider in like a post kind of credit scene, but he's not Spider-Man until his own game, which comes like a year later. So I would be cool if they introduced him that way, not as Spider-Man yet, and then in the future we see Miles take over.
Wait a minute, so Miles gets bitten on the same Earth as Peter Parker?
Yeah, in the game,
which would negate that whole across the Spider.
Yeah, there's no Spider-Verse in this game. This game's its own universe. It's just
okay.
Yeah. Which actually in the Spider-Verse movie, so maybe there is a Spider-Verse in this game, the Spider-Man from Sony does show up there. So who knows? That's just a little tidbit. I'm just, you're a wealth of like comic knowledge and power sets, and I just remember all these fun facts that have nothing to do with anything. So it's how we. It's another one of my mutant powers.
There you go.
My man God Mode 27/7 on YouTube says, "What's your top 3 worst comic book movies ever?" Top 3. Now, we might have to do a follow-up on this. I think we should for next week, Adrian. We'll list our top 3 worst because there's a lot of bad movies.
Yes.
Now, maybe because it's fresh on my mind, Madam Web might be on that list. I might throw that on there. I mean, there's some pretty bad ones. Like, what are some that come to your mind when he says bad movies?
Eternals.
Yeah.
Morbius. Both the Venoms.
My X-Men 3 would be up there. X-Men Apocalypse would be up there as well. Yeah. That one's pretty bad. I wouldn't put the Venoms as my worst. I probably like those more than you.
The Fantastic Four.
Oh yeah, movies. The OG ones. Yeah.
Both of them.
Yep. You could definitely put those up there. The Flash.
Oh, definitely.
A lot of DC. Yep. Could we just put DC? Does that count or no?
S2.
S2. The Justice League movie. I mean, I know the Zack Snyder one's better. I wouldn't say the Zack Snyder one's one of the worst, but the OG Justice League movie would be there.
But we're talking about bad. I mean, those aren't the top 3, but we could probably
put a list.
Yeah, the top 3 worst. Yeah.
I mean, so you know what? God Mode. Why are you in God Mode though? You also maybe you have some explaining to do too, God Mode. But God Mode, he's a fan of the show. He's commented before, so appreciate the feedback. So we will respond next week with a little segment called the top 3 worst comic book movies ever. I think that will be that'll be fun. That's one thing. It is fun to talk about Madam Web. It wasn't fun to watch though.
Now, mind you, let's clarify.
Okay.
top 3 comic book movies ever for us.
Yes.
We're not telling the universe what the universe thinks is the top
Correct.
3 worst, but our own opinion for us. Got it.
Our opinion. And if you don't agree with us, you're wrong. So, last one. This one, I was saving this one for last. You know, people say a lot of crazy stuff on social media. Mm-hmm. And what this guy says here, it was actually in response to another We Respond. So remember a few weeks back, there was a fan that asked the question, would you rather question? Would you rather have DC make their next phase as good as phase 1 through 3 of the MCU, right? Or have the MCU portray X-Men and Fantastic Four properly? We both fell on the X-Men and Fantastic Four side, right? Emmanuel Carrera Zero says, now his take here is a little crazy, or we're gonna maybe find out how crazy it is. He says, quality movie of phase 1, 2, 3 with 3 question marks. Half of those movies were good, just like phase 4. I don't get this. Is the memory of everyone blurred or something? Rewatch those movies. Now, phase 1 through 3, I've probably seen these movies more than any other comic book movies. So I got a list here, Adrian. We're going to go through and we're going to test his theory. Are only half of these movies good? And we'll do a thumbs up, thumbs down across the board, okay?
Okay.
All right, so, because good is what, above 5?
Yeah.
Right? He didn't say best grade ever.
Right. Well, good is average, which is a 5.
Okay. So 5 or above on these movies. So, phase 1 starts with the original Iron Man, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
The Incredible Hulk, thumbs up.
It's above a 5, so thumbs up.
Okay. Iron Man 2, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
The first Thor, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
The first Captain America movie,
thumbs up.
The Avengers, 2 thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
So that's phase 1. So across the board. Now, the worst movie of these, what do we got here? 4, 5, 6. The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we're being like lenient, we will say there's 1 down.
Right.
All right. That's not half. Moving on. Mm-hmm. Phase 2. One of my favorite Christmas movies, Iron Man 3. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thor: The Dark World. I couldn't give this movie more thumbs down. I'd say it's a 4.
I'm going to give it a thumbs up.
Okay. The Winter Soldier, Captain America 2, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Avengers: Age of Ultron, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Ant-Man. I'll give a thumbs up. First one was fun.
Yeah, it was good.
So really across the board. Now, I'm not a fan of Thor: Dark World.
Sure.
Right? Now, would you say that's the worst of these?
Or
is there one that you dislike more?
The Age of Ultron, because I didn't like what's his face's voice being Ultron.
Oh, James Spader.
James Spader, right?
You didn't like his voice, no?
No, I love his voice.
Yeah,
and I love him in The Blacklist.
Okay,
but not as Ultron.
Okay,
I think they just played on his popularity as this character in The Blacklist and threw him into Ultron, which I thought was a travesty.
Okay, so we'll do that. We'll give them a 1 down on this because we both kind of half down. So far we are.
But again, still not half.
Not half. Nope. Phase 3. Maybe this is where half. Maybe all these movies are bad, right? So, starting off with Captain America: Civil War, probably one of the best movies we've talked about so far. Yep. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
The first Doctor Strange. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Guardians 2. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Spider-Man: Homecoming. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Seeing a pattern here. Thor: Ragnarok. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Black Panther. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Avengers: Infinity War. Like 11 thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'll give that one a thumbs down.
I thought it was good. It's on our scale. It was entertaining.
You know what?
So
you're right.
It's a thumbs up.
It's a 5 or more. Yeah. Yes. So you're right. Thumbs up. Captain Marvel. Thumbs up.
Okay. I said if the next time we talked about Brie Larson,
you did say you'd be nicer, Adrian.
So yeah, thumbs up.
Avengers: Endgame. Like 11 thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Spider-Man: Far From Home. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
So that was almost thumbs up across the board.
Right.
So you know what? I know you said like everyone's entitled to their own opinion, Adrian, but in this instance, I don't think Emmanuel should be entitled to his own opinion. So I have rewatched these movies several times, Emmanuel, and we just ran through them. My memory is not blurred.
Right.
It is a lot more than half of those movies were good.
Right.
So it's not us giving some, unfair praise because of nostalgia. Literally that's why the MCU is so popular now, because of how good these movies were consistently.
Right. As a matter of fact, across all of those, it was probably like, maybe 2 or 3 that was just even, marginal, right around the 5.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like, Ant-Man and the Wasp to me was marginal.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel was marginal, right? So even
Hulk.
if we're going to count those as downs, we're still nowhere near half.
Right.
I mean, 3/4 of these movies are good or better.
Yep.
And now if we were going through great movies, Iron Man, Avengers from the first,
Black Panther,
Winter Soldier's a great movie.
Yep.
Guardians,
Civil War,
Doctor. I mean, there's just way too many. Thor Ragnarok, great movie. Infinity. Yeah, it's endless. Sometimes people just say things for attention, I think. No.
I was just going to say that he's already gotten what he wanted.
He did,
which is a lot of our attention, which is cool.
It's cool. It's what we're here for.
Yeah, and now we're moving on.
We are moving on. So, and we're moving on. We're moving on to wrapping up this episode, Adrian. So that's We Respond. We are right. Emmanuel's not, and that's okay. You can still be a fan of the show. We still appreciate Emmanuel.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And anyone else who comments, likes, subscribes, share this with your friends, and has helped us over the past few weeks. Adrian, viewership has been better than it's ever been.
And now buying some merch
on onlycomicsmerch.com. That's this is why it's another one of your mutant abilities, being a great podcast, because that was a great segue to close this out. Because right now, it flip to you for a second.
Yep.
You're wearing this amazing Only Comics shirt right here, the black and white version, which you can get on onlycomicsmerch.com, right?
You see it? Yep.
I see it. Yep, it's coming through loud and clear, even though I can't hear it. But anyways, if you flip back to me, Adrian, this hat right here, you can get Only Comics merch. And believe it or not, this Marvel shirt right here, Marvel Comics with all these characters, looks like a scene out of Secret Wars almost.
Right.
You can buy this on onlycomicsmerch.com.
Nice.
Well, Adrian, appreciate you coming in, chopping it up with me another week here on Only Comics.
Absolutely.
Guys, you know where to find us. Share this, subscribe, share it with your friends, share it with your mom, your dad, your cousin, your stepbrother, whoever, because I know everyone is going to love Only Comics. Everyone. Only Comics is the only comic podcast for you. We appreciate y'all checking us out, and we will see you right back here next week.